Okay, welcome to your first project. We'll be doing our OOP project. So the goal of this project is quite similar to what I am trying to do in my Udemy. We'll be making use of, where is this template? I think this template index. Yeah, so this is what we are trying to achieve for this project. So this is the site we are going to work on. So it's a single, I just took the template somewhere randomly online. It's a free template. So the point is to make this thing dynamic because everything is hard coded right now. All this A Patrick, I can't change it till I go inside HTML and type it by myself, which doesn't make any sense. So as expected, that's the disadvantage of front end alone. So that's why back end is necessary to make your site um, dynamic. So for example, now what I was saying now concerning how your assignment would be like, let's say for example, I teach you, I create a testimonial. I did a CRUD functionality for this testimonial, which means create, edit, read, and all of that for this testimonial. Then I will leave you for the rest to do this one, to make this one dynamic, and maybe make some kind of portions in a way, make this FAQ too, make this all this information, make I fit do one from the back end where you dey show here for the front end. So all these stuffs too, and also this form field should be able to submit whereby we will see it in our backend, and then all this other information and social links. So some of all these things, so that would just be like how the idea of what I'm thinking about. At least also this project looks nice and it looks catchy. So this is just like a basic example. Then on your own, you can just to try other website, other templates, and see how you can make them dynamic as well and change some things and make it custom to your own liking. So this is our goal for this class project. Now we are doing the real deal. You can see I intentionally waited for OOP before we do this one because I think it will be best we use OOP for this one because of the way it looks, this professionalism and all of that. It's better to use OOP approach. And the reason I'm now doing this OOP approach is because if you understand it very well, you'll be able to understand Laravel very well too. It will be very easy to grab, very easy. So the concept would kind of like remain the same because it's also still Laravel is still done with OOP. Okay, so that's just a quick review of what we're expecting from this project. So this is the blank directory I just created, portfolio projects. I'll make it a GitHub stuff so I can push the code, git init, git add, git commits. Before just add a readme.md. This is a personal portfolio app. Git add again, git commits, created a new project directory. Okay, portfolio project, right? So go to GitHub and create the repository. New owner myself. Repository name. What do I name it again? Portfolio projects. Description, class projects, public. No, let me make it. Let me make it private. So I will have to invite you guys, not add with me. So remote, you have to add remote, paste it here, then git push git push your origin master, reload. Okay. I think settings, right? Collaborators. Oh shit. Use mobile. 15. Yeah, no. Hmm. Refresh. Use mobile. 15. Nothing is showing in my mobile now. Okay, I've seen it. 15. Mm-hmm. So add people. Bookstore, simple portfolio. So what's I think then what's your kini abeg? GitHub. Science, okay, Mary J 16. Mary Jane 16. Add Mary Jane. Then I think Gladys one is what's Gladys this thing? It's all the full name.
Adane 33.
Okay, she don't come back. And 33. I don't know where that 33 inspiration come from. But no wahala. Let's add it. This one's 16. Okay, so in Nagosha say you may accept the invite so that you can have access to this repository. Mm, mm. Okay, so we've set up our GitHub and our projects. Now let's get our hands dirty. Our hands don't dey too clean. Make we make am dirty. Let's do this. So to start your vanilla PHP or pure PHP project, especially using the OOP approach, you need to first of all have a composer.json file. So you can on your own decide to create no rest. You can on your own maybe decide to create the composer.json file manually, then set up some stuff inside the file, then install it. Or you can first use this approach to generate the file for you. So I will say, well, for this case, I would like to just generate the file manually. Then we can modify it or change anything that we might want to change later on. So you need to first run this command composer init, just like we did git init. So now composer init is what we will use to start up our project here in PHP. So I'll run this composer. Let me make this terminal big. Composer init. Now you can see now why we need to install composer. If you remember there in the earlier part of the class, we need to install composer because so that we can be able to run composer commands like this and install packages. So welcome to the composer config generator. Package name, let's just leave it as this suggested name. So I'll just hit the enter key. Description, I can leave it as empty, or if you want to add this description, so I'll just leave it as empty for now. Author, I think this is the author. You can just hit away, hit enter key. Minimum stability, just hit the enter key. Package type for this one, we have to type projects. So you have to select which type of this package type you want to make use of this composer init. So it's project we are trying to do. So projects, that's what you type in this case. So hit enter. License, can leave it as empty, just hit enter key. Would you like to define your dependency require interactively? So by default it is yes. So if you hit the enter key, that means you are accepting the yes. So hit the enter key. Yes. Search for a package, not necessary, just hit enter key. Would you like to define the dev, blah 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 blah? Just yes, hit the enter key. Start the package, don't search any package, just hit the enter key. Next one, add PSR4 autoload mapping, mapping namespace, enter blah 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 blah. Just hit the enter key. No wahala. Just hit enter key. Then last part, do you confirm generation? Hit the enter key, which means you are accepting the default one, which is yes. Hit the enter key. Would you like the vendor directory added to your git ignore? Yes, it will be good because the vendor directory, which is this directory here, it holds a lot of package files. So pushing it to GitHub is not necessary because it will just make the weight of your project unnecessarily heavy when pushing to GitHub. So git ignore is just a file that ignores some kind of things that your git should push to GitHub. So if you add a folder there, it will ignore that folder, it won't push it to GitHub. So it's now asking me if I should also include vendor directory inside of the git ignore. I said yes, which means anytime I'm pushing my code to GitHub now, this vendor will not be pushed. Others will be pushed, only this vendor will not be pushed. And yeah, even though I decide I want to probably I have created the project now and the project is in my GitHub. Maybe later on, next 2 years or so, I say I want to now pull it or clone the project back to my laptop. Once I clone it, surely the vendor will also still not be there, but I can get the vendor back to be there. I just need to run composer install and the vendor will come because it will generate everything that is coming from the composer.json. So that's the most important thing. All the statement I just make now is very, very important statement too. So I'll hit yes here. Now see, now that command now don't create all this one, so they see like this now. No be say I do anything special. So now we create this readme.md by ourselves. The rest now the package create all these ones, all this command we will run. So if I click this first part now, this is the composer.json that was generated for us. That I said it's possible you could write it manually yourself and then run composer install. Then it will generate the rest for you in a way. So this one I can just leave. You can choose to set any name you want for your project name. You type, leave it the way it is. Now, what I want to change now, this auto load, this PSR4, I would like to make use of app directory, not SRC. If you remember, it was SRC that was there, which means it's talking about this directory. So I don't want to make use of, yeah, we are recording. Like this, they ask, say, make we record. That's why she don't give up. Okay, so this source directory, yeah. So I don't want to use source directory, I want to use app. So I changed that SRC that was written here to app. So which means I will also have to come here and change this SRC to app. The reason I'm decided to change it to app is because Laravel makes use of app for the directory, although Symfony makes use of SRC for the directory. But it doesn't matter which of them you choose to want to use, just your personal taste. I just realized that for me, I don't know, I just like that app, seeing the folder name as app. So the folder is where most of your project logic would be in your controller models. So that's one thing you have to just keep in mind. I just like seeing it as app, just my own personal taste. Then the PSR, now this other part, I will just come here and erase all of these things and set it as app here. I want my name, there's something called namespace. You'll get to understand what it means when we start using it, sha. But that's what this thing is signifying. So whenever I'm trying to set a namespace, I will always need to start with this name app than me starting with this whole long unnecessary name. So that's why I'm intentionally trying to make it simple by using that single app. So I'm changing it to app in capital letter, A in capital letter, very important. Authors, all this is what is generated. You can choose to change it, doesn't really matter, it's not an issue. Required, this is where all your packages would be entering into. So you don't need to just leave everything the way it will enter there by itself whenever you are installing any new package. So because now we've made some modifications to the .json file, anytime you make any modifications, especially when you come on your own directly with your own hand, come change something here, you must always need to run this command for it to take the effect, whereby um, your entire project have to know say something was changed there, so you have to work towards all the change for your application. So you have to come here and run. Although since this is the first, I think this is the first time we are running this. I mean, we just created composer.json just now. So the first time is usually to run with composer install. Now this composer install will now create another composer file beneath this .json. That one will be composer.log. That's what it will create. So if I hit enter key now, composer install, it will install everything here. Although there's nothing special here as much, but you can see now we have something called composer.log. If I click this composer.log, these are like the few things we have for now. Don't ever, even by mistake or by crook or by hook, change anything here. If you change anything here, you go affect your code, you go affect your entire project. So nobody dey touch composer.log, just leave am the way e dey. No come here. If you want it to change anything wey involve your package, na only composer.json you can do it. Don't come to composer.log to touch anything at all by any mistake here. That's one rule you have to keep in mind. Don't touch it at all. So this one, this composer.json is what you can choose to modify as time goes on. Particularly from now on will be majorly related to the packages that I'm installing or some things related to the packages, and that's where they will enter. They will enter here. So we'll soon install a package and we'll see how to do that. Now it's created this composer.log for us. So the next thing I need to run now, because I need to run composer dump auto load. Now the reason I'm running this particular dump auto load, especially this word, you see this word auto load, it has a connection to do with this auto load here, because I remembered I changed something here. So I have to update composer, say okay, I don't change something inside that auto load stuff. I don't change the SRC, I don't change the namespace naming convention. So I have to let composer know, say okay, this thing I don't change something there, make him know. So I just need to run composer dump dash auto load, hit enter key. So now composer don't know, say okay, new things don't change. Now it will be working with my own principle now. which is app. That's what we're working, no longer SRC. So this is something I can just do once, sha. So it depends on whatever stuff I'm having or any issue that having that relates with autoload. So yeah, that one is done. So we are all set now like this from this initial stage. Um, mm, Now let's start our project itself. For this project, I think it's best, let's start with the aspect of connecting our database. Yeah, that is usually the best approach. So we'll always start the project, setting up your database connection. Now, in this case, we'll be making use of something we call a file we call .env. So the name of the file is .env. You have to put .env. So it's kind of like an environment. It's kind of like an environment kind of file that holds some kind of global kind of variable. You will get what it means later on as time goes on. But inside this .env, it's just something I want to set up some kind of variable that I can access anywhere in my application. So like database host name, set it as localhost, database name. For this one, let's name database portfolio projects, database username. This one, let's set it as root, database password. I would like to leave this one empty. So it's just something related to like database setup I'm trying to do. So that means when I'm connecting my database in my code, I will only just need to call these variables names. Then it will automatically know that I'm referring to these values. You get the gist. So since we are using the database name as portfolio project, so I have to also go to my PHP to create that database. Localhost /PHP This thing taking time. So I need to create a new database. New portfolio project, create. So database has been created. Good. So let's continue. So that's the database name, username set as roots, which is the default stuff in the PHP and host name set as localhost, which is the default host name in PHP so now one thing now we need to do for this particular project or in this OOP concept, because in OOP concept we always like to use this approach, we always have a .env kind of file and all of that. But for PHP to really connect this .env file to our project, there's something we need to do. We have to install a package. Now this will be our first package that we are installing in this class. So the package is composer. Composer require php.env. Lucas lucas/php.env. So this is the package we need to install. And this package will then set up some stuff in the package in our PHP code that will make PHP be able to access this thing that we are setting here. So composer require lucas/php.env. It's the enter key to install the package. Now, any package you are installing, it will be updated inside this .json file. we will see it inside this .json. Now, if I go to .json now, you can see now this is the package here inside this require, and automatically the package functionality don't somehow enter inside the composer log. Because see now composer log don't increase. Remember, it wasn't this long before, but because of that package, it don't set some kind of things inside. But like I said, don't touch anything inside here. In short, this one I'm even opening it. I'm not even supposed to be opening it. I don't make any mistake. Go click something, I go remove something there. But if peradventure you have any issues with your lock, like maybe let's say I delete this thing now by mistake or whatever, I don't go directly manually change something here. One thing to solve the issue, just delete the lock completely. Just delete it, then create it back by running composer install. And see the lock has come back. So that's just one way to resolve that kind of situations. Because the lock is generated through this composer.json, so everything will still be intact. It will also install this package stuff. Okay, I like as I'm
like this.
Yes.
So it's only the log that deleted, others are still intact.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we've set up our .env, we've downloaded the package that is needed to connect our .env with PHP. Now, where will I start from this now? Okay. So let's create a public directory. In PHP, public directory is just like where your root directory is, like where the heart of your project is. But if you remove that heart, everything like why I say your heart, like your real heart now. If you remove that heart, all your body, all of them know they function again. So anything they put inside public directory, and it's usually one thing that is usually there, like one thing must always be there, index.php. This index.php inside is public is like the main heart of all your code. It has all the connection to everything where they work within your code. So we need to set it up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Welcome.
I'm like say because now I'm using my laptop and it's still the same thing.
Okay, wait, let me cancel the sharing and share it again. How about now?
It's the same thing. Because although I'm hotspotting from my phone to Shao.
Now the same glue. You have to really change that glue. I don't know why anybody would even use glue for this stage we're in.
But the glue has been working now. Working for me.
It's working there sometimes now. Sometimes not me. You have to use network really consistent. Not about sometimes. So okay, yeah. So setting up the .env. Now we need to import. There's something. If you enter this vendor, there's this file called autoload. So we need to import that file inside our index.php. So we will use our kind of like our usual require ones. So it is located inside the public. This index.php is located inside the public directory, right? So we have to go one step back. So to take us to our root directory, now we can access the vendor directory. Now we can access the autoload. Even VS Code self is already showing us the structure of how we are going. So this is very important. We need to set this autoload. The essence of this autoload now in this OOP, we will no longer be using, this thing where we do write localhost, maybe localhost but 200 slash index.php or edit.php. All those things with the URL with .php. there will be no more .php anymore. So our URL will be like normal clean URL, like all these kind of URLs here. Nothing like .php anymore. And we are going to also generate a route. So the route we'll be using to implement that. So anyways, this autoload, the essence of this autoload is for it to be able to load our files in a way whereby PHP can track certain importations, because we won't necessarily be using these require ones anymore. Whenever we are dealing with stuff that is related to this app directory, we've not started working on this app directory, but anything we are doing with this app directory, we're not going to use anything like require ones there. It has to be namespace or use statements. So that's what we'll be using, sha. And this is what the autoload is solving for us. So yeah, we are yet to set up. Remember, we installed this package, and we installed it in order for it to help us set up this our .env so that PHP can access it. So now we installed the package. It doesn't mean it's really working yet. So we have to set it inside index.php. Yeah. So for us to do that, we need to import a class that is coming from that package. So there's a class inside that package. You can say VS Code is already predicting it. So is this particular class here? So for us to import, we just have to use the use.env. This is a class inside the package. This stuff is coming from inside this vendor. Inside this vendor, Lucas. There's some kind of code where that package they within this place that is taken. Okay, I think it's even this one .env. I can say the name of the class is .env. So that's where it is coming from. So in some way, anytime you install a package and you're making use of that package, this like now we're using it this way. This information is coming from the vendor, this vendor directory. So this vendor directory is also storing all our package features inside, and that's why we can access it in our project. So it's very important too. So we need to access the .env stuff. Then for us to load our environment variables, which is that .env, we just need to just run this, just configure these two commands. .env is equals to, so we'll call the class .env, and that class holds, it has a function called create immutable. Then you can set a directory of where it is located, directory name dash dash dr dash dash. So basically this one is just trying to assess that, okay, this our .env is in our root directory, like it's inside the root of our directory, like our project name now na portfolio dash app, portfolio project. If you enter inside the project directory, you see the .env, and this particular code helps us access the root directory itself. So directly, that means it can access all of these directories now that we are seeing. So the .env class automatically will locate where we wrote .env, which is this file. So automatically know that, okay, this is the file we are looking for, or it is looking for rather. And yeah, so even from the looks of this code, all those OOP we've been doing, notice the way we call the class .env, which is also coming from this importation that we imported that class from. Then we did this double stuff. For your mind, it's supposed to say, okay, this is the variable here. The create immutable is the method. The create immutable is the method. And this dot is the like static method. So probably let's just explore. Let's just explore first. So if I just go to locals.env src.env, let's see if we can find this create immutable inside the class. So this is the class create mutable. You can say create immutable. What's the class? Static method. Static method. And remember, anytime you want to access static method, you have to use this purpose. So all those concepts we are doing, this is how it is already applied here automatically. So we're calling the class, we're accessing the method inside that class like this. So now the parameters it can hold, these are the list of parameters it can hold. The first one is saying paths, like the location of a direction, shall a path. And that's why we are putting this path location. So this command, this PHP, this is a PHP code. It will just automatically take, you can say directory of the file. It will take you directly to the directory of the file. So that is the path we are putting here. Okay, so lastly, we then will need to run .env save load. So that's the end. So now we've successfully set up our .env in our PHP. So PHP can always access this information here through just this name alone, to use this name to access all this information here. So this is just how to set that up. Now let's go to the aspect of creating our database or our database connection. Well, okay, so to do that inside our public, now inside this public directory, we can have, we'll start with, right for now, we will need some directory that we'll be using. So we'll be making use of controllers directory, and we have to click on this app, ensure to click on app, then create a new directory, models. So now we have the two directories. Click on app, create another directory, requests. So this, let's start first with these three directories that we'll be using. As time goes on, if I see a need for another directory, I will create it. There's something called, okay, let me not talk about it yet. Let's first focus on our database connection. So now, one thing about these models is just the directory. So like Laravel call it model, Symfony calls it entity. So if you see entity or if you see model, both of them are the same thing, depending on how you want name them. So both of them are doing the same job, entity or model. So personally for me, I just kind of like this model word than that entity word. So the model, so from this model now, let me use it to create our database connection stuff. So I'll create a class called database connection .php. So in this place now, we will now need to set up our database connection, as we always used to set up our database connection. Let me just make, so whenever you're dealing with class now, because now remember this app directory is like one major important part of this our project itself, and this app directory makes use of this auto load stuff, and it's that auto load stuff is also referring to this thing we have in this our composer auto loading stuff, which is this stuff which we call namespace. Now why am I saying this? Whenever you create a new file inside within this app, because I'm still within this app, even though I'm inside models, everything here is shared within this app. So whenever you are inside, whenever you create a new class inside that within that app, you have to set a namespace for it. So I'll write namespace. Now that namespace, how does it work? It's just for you to put the path, the direction where this file will be located. So first of all, the direction is start from app, then into models, then it inside models. So I'll just come here and write app forward slash, I will use it forward, I will backslash, that is this one, models. Because even VS Code don't know, so now the next thing I need to write with are models. Then that's the end. App slash model. So it's starting from this app directory, move to this models directory, then that's where the file is. So that's what you will always be putting in most of all these files that will involve models. The same way you will do for controllers. So instead of models here, you will write controllers here. If peradventure maybe I create a new directory inside this model, let's say I just maybe I create maybe one directory inside, and let's say maybe I move this file inside this directory. So now this file is inside this test directory. The namespace, I have to increase the namespace and add that directory. You have to ensure say that direction, that pattern of where that file, the stages of where that file dey, you have to set it up this way. So that's what namespace is. So but let me move it back to like the models directory and delete this test directory. So that is one thing you have to keep in mind, very important to always do. Then as usual, we have to call our class. So and your class name should tally with the name of your file. And notice the way I'm naming the file, database connection. These are two words. Each the letter of that first word must be capital letter, the letter of the second word must be capital letter. And also classes, it will also follow that same pattern. So database connection. So this is our first class now that we are creating here. So we want to use this class to connect our database to this our project. Now we've been doing several SQL stuff and all, but the protection in terms of SQL or our database is not really strong. Like there's still a way it can, the security is not that like strong, like that strong enough. So in this OOP, what we do, there's something called PDO. Using PDO, PDO stands for PHP Data Object. So using PDO for database connection in PHP is considered a best practice for several important reasons. Database driver abstraction, MySQL, PostgreSQL, clean, reusable, prepared statement for security, protect against SQL injection attacks, separate SQL logic from data. So you can just check all of these stuffs on your own sha. So instead of using all those ones we've been doing then, we've been using this format, MySQLi. So it's not really protected. You can see all the flaws it has. Cancel, 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 cancel. But see this one, everything checked. Like now the best option to use for PHP. But don't be discouraged. All those things I taught you was still a beginning phase that you still need to understand. So this is what we share. This guy like the concept we'll be using now in terms of our database stuff. PDO. For Symfony and Laravel, PDO has like automatically been installed, so you won't be using it manually. Like it's already inside inbuilt, so you won't even know that you are using PDO there, or you are using it there. But since we are doing vanilla PHP or pure PHP, we have to do everything manually by ourselves. So yeah, I have to use PDO. Just let me say something. I just remember. Just ensure to do this thing. Go to your this PC localhost XAMPP PHP directory. Look for where's that file? php.init. Yeah, php.ini file. These two files, php.ini development, php.ini production. Open it. So if I open this first one now, let me just open it with Notepad. Can search. I think where is search? Yeah, find. Can just find something like PDO. Just type PDO. Okay, good. It's enough. Now ensure that this part is commented out. Like one thing about like PHP.ini files, like if you look at this file now, for example, you'll notice that there's a semicolon here at the beginning of it. So that semicolon means this is commented out, like they commented this thing out. That's the code about the code and the ini files, you understand? So this is commented, all these are commented out, but remove the semicolon with this PDO MySQL. Remove the semicolon with it, so just delete it. So for me before there was a semicolon here, it was like this. So I had to come here and clean that semicolon out. Also, probably let's just even set up the things we will need generally, or even for future for yourself. Because there are some extensions that we just would need in PHP in some of these things. So you might need coil. This coil was important for me when I was trying to integrate Paystack. I don't know if you know Paystack, whereby you want to pay some stuff online for your website. So you go tell you carry go Paystack for you to put your card and all of that. So when I was setting it up for one site, I needed this extension. I was wondering why it was not working, and I realized that this extension was commented out. So I had to uncomment it. So you might need later in the future. So just uncomment this coil, uncomment this GD, uncomment this Intel, uncomment this MB string, MySQLi, uncomment this one, but we need it. What else? So yeah, uncomment PDO MySQL, which I've already done that. Okay, I think that's all for now. So maybe later on, if there's any stuff we might need to uncomment, we'll come back here. Zip, sodium socket title. Can leave all this one still. When the use case comes into play, you would know, or if ChatGPT tell you say you need them. So you just need to save this. So I'll need to save this file. So file save. I need to repeat the same. I need to repeat the same thing for the production. Well, even though it's not as if we are going to use production, because anything we are doing locally, you are using the development, not the production. The production is the one that's the server when you are trying to upload it. Short no need. When you are trying to upload, let's do it. When we are trying to upload it in our server, that one you will change it directly inside the server. It won't be from here at all. But let me just do it just for the sake of. So I'll just search for PDO, enter, cancel the search. So uncomment this, uncomment this, uncomment this, uncomment this, uncomment this. Yeah, so everything is set up. So save. So yeah, anytime you make any changes to your .ini file, you have, for it to really take effect, you have to stop and start your SAM. So stop. So make everything refresh and take effect to the new changes. So start. Can see all this approach, all this you have to know how to organize all these rules, all these steps. But these things we do is just a one-time thing, sha. And just remember that if by venture you uninstall your XAMPP, you have to come back and do this thing I do. Just like that incident you had then when XAMPP in misbehave, why tell you so you have to uninstall it and install it back. So when you install
So you have to come back and do what?
You have to come back and set this stuff that I set, this .ini.
Okay, again.
Yes. Because now new stamp you get, so the changes no go there again. You have to come back, come set and make it there for you. Okay, so now use PDO. So this use PDO would work. I remember then when in Jaga Academy, I was wondering why everybody PDO they work. My own look on they work. I don't know say now that stuff PDO issue. It took me a while for me to realize say I have to go to that thing for this PDO to start to the work. So yeah, so use PDO, then we'll also need another class called PDO exception. Just calm down, just be seeing just be watching what I'm doing, even though never they make sense to you. But just they follow through with some things what they do. In this class, I will need a method, just a single method for the database connection. So I can just name the method database connection like this. Now inside the database, this is where our database connection would now be. So as usual, I'll just create a variable for database hosts. Now I need to access the environment variable, $sign underscore env. Then I will set that name, db host name. db host name is coming from this .env, db host name. So that's what is coming from here. So that means this will be holding local hosts automatically. Like say if the old local hosts, because now within we set them to be here. So, but yeah, let's set it the way it should be like this. The reason this approach is better because I can be like, or you can feel like, what's the point? I feel just come here now. I'll just come here, type the local host here, and this will actually still work. That's the thing. This will actually still work. Just that the advantage of this thing, you get sometimes say, sometimes not every time you need to enter all this your direct, all this thing. You know, say if you do something sharp, sharp, you know, say probably you just change your database or something, just come here, set them, change them, whatever so you change them, and you know, say automatically the thing will change for this file. So yeah, you are kind of like hard coding it here by force. That means next time I have to always come to this file to change this particular place. Instead of me doing it here, I either just change it somewhere whereby it will always be reflecting in this place. Whatever I change here is automatically reflected here. So that's why it's best to set it in this format, taking the variable names only and setting the values in this .env. So that's where that idea came from. So we'll do it for the rest as well. So just copy and paste this one. So for the hosts, this one would be for database name. So this should be db name. Abi, let me tweak this thing like this. So db name, yes, this one will be for database user or username. So I can just say, okay, database db username. What is the last one? Password, database password, db password is empty. No set, so intentionally no set password for that. Okay, so this is first early step. Now we need to connect everything together to make more sense. So first to do that, create a variable, maybe name it VSN. Now just follow this approach. My SQL hosts is equal to, so is equal to, which means it will be holding the host name. So dot, we name the host name db as the variable we are seeing here, db hosts dot, so we are concatenating colon, then the next one db name, we are setting the db name is equal to, so dot, the db name we set here is db underscore name dot exclamation mark semicolon. So db name connected, this one's connected. So next one, char set utf8. This char set utf is just something related to the type of database stuff, like something related to, where is this thing now? Maybe if I want to create a new database now, if I come here and click new database, you see all this UTF-8 something, or all this UTF-8. So that's the basis we are using. So just write it in this format. So this DSN is only holding the database, the host name and the database name. That's what it is holding. So all of these are kind of like concatenated, like they will be merged together as something. This is just normal PHP code concatenation using these dots. So this variable, you can access variable to enter inside here, and so the value here will be merged to this. That means what will be here will be something like local hosts. Like that's what will be equal to inside here. So next, we where we are where we're actually going. Our goal here is to connect it. Like I want to create a connection. And that connection, we're going to use this PDO. And this PDO has several kind of arguments it needs to have. So the argument it needs to have is the first one is this DSN that we created. First one is this DSN. The other one it needs is the database user, which is DB. Let me just set it as user. So which is DB underscore user. While the other one it needs is the database password. That's DB password. Then it still has one more stuff you can also add. You can see if you look at this place, we have something like options. So although these options, I feel it's not, I don't know, I'm not really sure if it's really mandatory or not, but I think let's just add it to really fully complete. So we will need to set these options too. It's showing red line because I've not created the option yet. So for the options, I have to create a variable called options. Now for these options, I really can't explain it, but let me just type everything that concerns these options. So you just have to just follow the approach always whenever you are trying to set up your database. So ATTR error mode video error mode exception, comma video ATTR default fetch mode video fetch associative video ATTR emulates PPS false. So this is just basically what you would need here, Sha. Usually I personally just like doing it this way. I will just push this place to look, so everything will just be like in line with themselves. So this for this, this for this, this for this. Okay, so yeah, just follow this approach every time, anytime you want to do database connection. Even if you don't really understand, but at least you understand, say, all this information they come from .env. Then the rest approach, just follow the same pattern to set them up. And all these variables, remember, it's coming from all these variables outside here that we are creating here. So whatever name, you can use any name here. It's not compulsory to use this exact name. Any name you use here, just ensure that you are setting it accordingly here also. So after this, then we need to return this our connection variable we just create now. This connection variable. Usually it's good to do some kind of check for error in terms of the database connection, so you can know if there's an error in this database connection. So we can easily just use, to do that, you can easily use a try and catch way. So try and catch. I think we've used this stuff before. Just kind of like PHP way of handling some kind of error. This try means if everything goes well, now this one go execute for us. If everything goes well, this one go execute for us. But if by venture there's any error, now this catch go execute the error for us. So the error will be PDO exception stuff error. So we set kind of like an object for it, representing it as E. So let's us see this particular error. So echo maybe connection failed. Then let's add the error message. So you can concatenate this, add the error message as e get message. So this will get for us the error message. Notice, remember, this is just like code injection, like dependency injection. I imported this class inside this bracket and I instantiated it to this object e. Like this is the object of this class. So inside that object, I'm using it to access a method that is inside this class called getMessage. So for example, if I enter inside this PDO class, that's this PDO class. Inside this PDO class, it has PDO exception rather. We'll modify along. Abeg, shall know say it has something called like getMessage. So that's what we are getting. So to get us that error message. Exit. So we are done. We are done setting up the database connection with PDO. Yeah, everything looks a bit more complex in a way because we are dealing with PDO. That's the issue. But then the point is that PDO is more secure than the formal approach we are using. So we have to adapt in this new change. So that's why the code looks like this. And PDO, we can only use PDO for classes. In the last project, we didn't do anything related to class, so we can't use PDO at all. So you can only use PDO when you're dealing with OOP. So that's why we have to use PDO right now. So I think all of these things, there's nothing much to explain. Although is this part I didn't explain. Even me, I need to even remember what they do. Probably just ask ChatGPT to teach us what those stuffs mean.
So let's this all this thing now only set up.
I
don't only set up you go for 2 hours.
When I tell you, never say anything. Calm down.
Hey.
Now set up. We never start the project. Let me see. So please explain for me what the options part of our code means. So, okay, so for this first row, this tells PDO to throw exception when an error occurs. That means even this option is actually important. So we always put this option because it's also helping. So you can see it tells PDO to throw an error exception when any error enters. So helps catch and handle errors using try catch. And that's why we make use of try catch here. Try catch. Okay. Yeah, we've already done that. Yeah, try catch exception. Next, we have the next one, fetch mode. That's the second row. Is talking about this next row where we get explaining what that one means. So for this one, this sets the default way data is fetched from the database. This sets the default way data is fetched from the database. Okay, so it's setting it that the way the data are fetched from our database will be in associative format. So it's fetching it as association, like associative array. So that's what we are setting the default. So we are setting the default approach. So that means if we want make them in object way, we're gonna manually have to configure them inside our code. But by default, we are setting it to be fetching it in associative array formats. Okay, makes sense. So makes data easier to work with for most apps. Okay, so example of associative array, this is normal. The last line that we have, emulate prepare for. So this disables emulated prepared statements. This disables emulated prepared statements, forcing PDO to use the database native prepared statements. Emulated, more secure and reliable. Okay, helps prevent SQL injection. Okay, that means forces PO to use the database native. So this one is preferable to use than to use this other prepared statement. So that means like they have two types of prepared statements. So it's saying this native prepared statement is more better than we using emulated prepared statement. That's why we're setting it to false so that we shouldn't use emulate prepared. So since it is false, page PDO will automatically switch and use this other prepare statement, which is more secured. You can say help prevent SQL rejection, more secured. For the emulated, he said emulated prepares can cause subtle bugs, it can cause issues if we were to use the emulated way, especially with data types, numbers as strings. So this is the summary. Since we don't learn small revision, that means this actually is very, very important to set for this our PDO. And that's where it is here in our arguments. Yeah. Okay, so right now, yes, we've just set up our database. Now our database is well connected with this our application. Any question? I feel probably should we let's stop here because of also Adame, so make sure you get enough too much new things to take in. Even you to self for yourself too. I think it's 11:45. So continue.
It's only 2 hours.
Yeah, we will continue.
I just pray we will not encounter any issue while you're setting this thing now.
Because of the whole
You run mad.
so now the thing